Welcome to another video. My name is Amsterdam Comic Geek, and recently I made a video about Todd McFarlane and about the first time I came across his artwork, which was the first time he made a Spider-Man comic. It was Amazing Spider-Man 298, and I received a couple of great comments on that one, so thank you. But also, I'm so much a fan of McFarlane, I figured why not make a second video, because there's a lot of great stuff to show you guys. And I want to start with this illustration he made in 1988. It's a poster, and I remember having this one as a postcard. So I think I bought it at a Comic-Con in the late 1980s, maybe early 1990s or something. And I don't know how I got it or where I bought it, but I had it when I was a kid. It's a small postcard. Apparently it was a poster, and I really like this illustration because it's Spider-Man. I'm a big Spider-Man fan, and it's a McFarlane Spider-Man. It's an early McFarlane Spider-Man, as you can tell. It's a bit of a weird illustration, as it comes when you start to think about it. It's a bit of a weird illustration because what the hell is Spider-Man doing? He's sitting on a ledge, I suppose, somewhere. We don't know exactly where. He webbed up the whole place, and he nailed the black costume to the wall. This is not the alien costume, of course, because that would be in one piece. And as you can see on the left side, the mask is removed from the rest. So it's not the alien costume, but just a regular costume. So what the hell is he doing? I don't know, but I still love the intensity of the image. I love the coloring as well. And I like this one better, for instance, than the cover of Spider-Man #1. The series McFarlane did all by himself, which we have discussed earlier. I think he did the first 14 issues of that series back in the day, and he got his own series because he was so popular at one point, such a popular artist, that Marvel decided to give him his own series, which is quite spectacular. But later on he still left with Rob Liefeld and Jim Lee and a couple of other guys and started Image. So yeah, this is still one of my favorite Todd McFarlane images, although it doesn't make a lot of sense, but it just looks cool. And one thing you can say about McFarlane, that his art looks cool. It's cool art. I was doing a bit of research this week because I'm writing an article on McFarlane for a Dutch comic book magazine called Appo. And then I came across this website, comicinvest.com, and it's basically dealing with if you want to buy and collect comics as an investment, but also original art. So there was this artist spotlight on Todd McFarlane, and they take a closer look at some of the original art McFarlane made, and then that was sold. So I thought it would be interesting to look at this article for a moment. It's written by Dick O. I don't know who that is. And he wrote a bunch of other stuff, as you can see. If you think, what the hell is that noise? It's my mouse. It makes a bit of a noise whenever I turn the little round thingy. So don't mind that. But what I found interesting, it's a nice overview of McFarlane's career. This article is published in 2017, so just 3 years old. So we see his early career. McFarlane got his first break on a comic called Coyote, if I pronounced that correctly. It was a back issue story. But apparently Infinity Inc. was the first time he got a regular job as a penciler for DC Comics. So this is an early page from that period of time. It sold for $700 apparently on eBay. And this is also an earlier page from All-Star Squadron. And it's inked by Vince Colletta. But I don't want to focus on that one because I want to focus on his Marvel work. He moved on to Marvel in 1987 and did some Daredevil stuff. Now this is an interesting page. Let's look at it up close, shall we? What I like about these original art pages is that you can still see the blue pencils every once in a while. And as you might know, artists used to draw in blue pencil instead of a regular pencil, because blue won't reproduce when you print stuff. So you don't have to wipe out the pencil lines when you have inked the page. So there's still some blue lines in here, which is interesting. Yeah. It's already great stuff. You can already see some of the McFarlane tropes on this page. Like he uses contrast on the top panel with the black building and the white figures, and then he switches that around on this panel. I like this one. This one in the middle with the guys, the kids over there, or wherever they are, and then Daredevil on the right. With another Edward Maybridge inspired panel. I know a lot of comic book artists do this, so this is not a McFarlane thing per se, but in the last video I showed you Spider-Man vs. Chance, and there's also a great panel with Spidey moving. So you can see their movements very clearly. That's one of the fun of superhero comic books, I think. The way you can look at the human form and the way it's drawn that way. It's very dynamic. And you can also look at how bodies move. It's very interesting, I think. You won't get it in a romance comic. This is a cool page. What did it sell for? It's not that I'm very much interested in how much this stuff sells for, because $4,099 back in 2016. I'm not a collector of original art myself, I have to admit. I know people are, and that's fine. I simply want to spend my money on comics and not on original art that much. And I don't know, I've no room in my place to hang new stuff on the wall anyway. So that's another reason. And it's always a bit odd, I think, when you have a page hanging on the wall in a museum. Mind you, I do believe that comic book art deserves to be on a wall of a museum, because some of this art is really, really excellent. And I love how they make a lot of panels in a comic, and all those little panels not only make one hell of a story most of the time, but also there's a lot of effort and greatness in each panel. Look at this Hulk comic. Look at the expression. I think McFarlane is good at making great expressions when it comes to the characters. He also has a nose for great covers, I think. Incredible Hulk 343. I also like all these details on the board itself. 1986, people. You can see the title pasted in. Look at that, that's great. Maybe I would buy original art to hang on the wall if I had the money for it. This is just a regular page. The other one sold for almost $2,400. And you can see that you pay more for Marvel characters drawn by McFarlane than DC Comics characters. Maybe because McFarlane refined his style later on, as you can see here. But it's also because I think maybe Marvel characters are more popular and well known than a lot of DC comic characters. I don't want to piss on DC this morning. It's a fine morning, and I've got nothing against DC comics or their characters. I'm a big Batman fan myself, but I'm just putting it out there. Another great example of how McFarlane knows how to make great expressions on faces, facial expressions. And all these lines, it makes for a very dramatic image. God, this is great. Look at that face. This is before his Spider-Man stuff, but you can see that McFarlane has such a distinct art style. It's immediately different from what came before. And it really jumps off the page. That one sold for almost $11,000. This is an interesting one, because he didn't do a lot of Batman, as far as I can remember. But he did, I think, 2 chapters of Batman Year 2. And maybe he did a couple of covers. It's great that you can see on the black parts of the image the lines of him inking it. You can see the inking lines very well. Whether you like McFarlane's art or not, because, you know, it's a matter of taste, you can hardly deny that he's great at making dramatic poses and drawing dramatic poses and dramatic images. And look, on the right, McFarlane's autograph is in a little bat signal thingy. That's cool. He even started joking around back then. He's a funny guy, I think. And what I like about McFarlane as well, he has a tremendous respect for his fans, I think. Because he knows, thanks to the fans, he can pay his bills. It's great when an artist, even as big as McFarlane, still has a lot of respect and patience for his fans. People who love his art and love looking at it and reading his books and buying them. You know, let's see how much they paid for it. $71,700 in November 2012. Now, there's a bit of dark irony in the whole original art sales thing, I think, that some artists only get paid a couple of $100 per page by the publisher, and it depends on who is the owner of the art. But it can make more money by selling the pages later on. And I really hope that the money of these pages went into the hands of the artists themselves. This is great. This is from Batman Year 2. Batman versus the Reaper. Look at Batman dance like a Spidey. I am wondering if you guys are interested in original artwork in pages like these. Maybe you're an artist or an aspiring artist, or you are a writer for comics, or just somebody who loves comics like me. Do you study pages like these to discover the secrets of the artists that made them? And a couple of great panels here as well. It's very dramatic, as I said, but also the blocking. McFarlane's blocking is very interesting with the Reaper here on the downside. I really like his storytelling. Whenever I'm thinking about McFarlane, I'm thinking about Spider-Man and Spawn mostly. And seeing these pages, I really feel like I should pick up collecting Spawn again. But here we get to the Amazing Spider-Man, and that's the moment I first came across McFarlane's artwork. And this is great because this is the cover of Amazing Spider-Man 300. I remember when I was a kid and this comic came out in Dutch. Because yeah, as you know, I collected comics in Dutch when I was a teen. And later on I switched on to original American comics. But back in the day there was a Dutch publisher that published a lot of Marvel comics in Dutch. And it was less expensive to buy them in Dutch. Also, most of the time the production values were better. So they were printed on better paper than the original American copies. So I was a Dutchie who read Spider-Man in Dutch. And when Amazing 300 was announced, it was in the Dutch issue 106. I remember we thought that's a big deal. It's Spider-Man 300 issues of American comics. And at that point, I hadn't read a lot of Spider-Man yet. Only like, I don't know, 25 to 30 issues or something. Let's look at it up close. I love how they originally just pasted the titles on the page, as you can see here. It's ridiculous. It's wonderful. And again, you can see the blacks filled in very clearly. And I think the background is a photostat. I think you call it a photostat or something, when you just use a regular photograph as a background. McFarlane did it a lot in the Spider-Man run, especially in the beginning. Maybe to cut some corners, deadline wise, when you had to make his deadline. I really love to see this. I can look at this picture for hours and hours. Let me get a sip of my coffee. As you probably know, Todd McFarlane wasn't a big fan of the black costume. That's why they changed Spider-Man soon to his regular costume. And now I'm thinking about it, that makes more sense when it comes to this picture. That's why he nailed the black costume to the wall, because McFarlane didn't like it. So that's the story about this picture, I suppose. Maybe you just got an assignment, make a cool Spider-Man image for a poster. And Todd was thinking, well, I don't like the black costume. And he came up with this concept. Could be. It's still a great image though. But I wanted to show you something else as well. This is how the cover of 300 turned out in color. But when you buy the Epic collection, so the Marvel Epic collection, they have recolored this image into this one, into this. I can't say I'm a big fan. I think I love the original style better. The blacks are just totally black instead of this airbrushed kind of muscly Spider-Man. I don't know. I think this one leaves more to the imagination. What do you think? Which one do you like best? Do you like this one or this one? I'm just very curious about that, because a lot of people complain about recolored comics, and that's a theme I want to tackle later on because it's an interesting theme. So we're just gonna keep it at this one at the moment, this illustration. I think I like the original better, but I'm very curious about what you think. Let me know in the comments below. And also, let me know if you like these kinds of videos, looking at original art. This is another great Spider-Man cover as well. I always love when they play around with the title. So Spider-Man is hitting the Hulk so hard and the whole thing goes to shit on the top. I think that's very funny. I really love that way of, it's like he's doing a serious job, he's taking his job seriously, but at the same time he's having a lot of fun. And I think that's what I like, partly I like about McFarlane's art style and him as an artist and the way he looks at life. I think he's a very positive guy. And he's also somebody who doesn't give up easily. And I think that's part of his success. That's why he's so successful as an artist, as an entrepreneur, as a toy guy, all those things. And I also like when he's on Instagram, sometimes he makes little videos and he shows original artwork, or he just shows how he draws a certain character. What can I say? I'm a fan. This was when Spider-Man got the Captain Universe powers for a moment, which was a fun couple of issues. I think this video is running a bit long. I hope you guys don't mind. There's so much to see. Here you can also see the blue pencil on the Hulk's face. It's not that clear though, which is kind of a shame. But we can see it a little bit. Just imagine watching Todd McFarlane draw this image. Just look over his shoulder and see the magic of a guy knowing his stuff and changing a white page, a blank page, into this. Into such a wonderful piece of art like this. I really admire artists like that. Also, I will leave a link in the description below of the article if you want to read everything the guy wrote about Todd McFarlane and his career. This one sold for $675,250. That's a lot of dough for one cover. Like I said, I sincerely hope McFarlane got a piece of the action. This is the cover everybody loves so much. This is a great cover. It's an interesting cover, but I never liked it that much, to be honest, because it's just Spider-Man sitting there. I love all the little spiders though. It's a great illustration, don't get me wrong, but it's not one of my favorite covers. But let's look at it up close for a moment. Look at all the spiders. I mean, it's a dramatic pose, and like we said before, if there's one thing McFarlane is good at something, it's dramatic images. And as you can see, there's on his autograph, there's a question mark. How very Riddler of him, because usually there's a number, and the number stands for the number of spiders he put into the cover. Usually you have to really look for them because they're hidden, and most of the time it's just a couple of spiders. But since there are so many spiders on this cover, he probably didn't know himself how many he drew on this illustration, which is funny. I really, like I said, McFarlane is a funny guy, and there's a lot of small kind of gems in his art, and I really, really like that. He really had fun doing his stuff, and you get to make comics for a living. So what's not fun about that? It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be something you love. If you don't love making comics, get out of the industry, I think. Who am I kidding? This is a great cover. Maybe it should be one of my favorite covers. I think it's a legendary cover nonetheless. They sold 2.5 million copies of this issue. Well, there were a couple of variants, of course, that boosted the sales. It was variant time in the 1990s. But what am I saying? Sometimes Marvel brings out a new issue nowadays with 40 variant covers. I mean, they really lost touch with reality, I think, those people at Marvel at the moment. But this was a legendary cover. This looks great. Let's look at this one for a moment, and then I'll wrap it up, because I'm thinking this video is taking up your time far too long. And I don't know if people like long videos or short videos. It's very hard sometimes to know. And it depends on the person, I suppose. This is a storyline I really like. This is when Mary Jane was kidnapped by her neighbor, Jonathan Caesar. And back in the day, summer months, Spider-Man was on sale twice a month. So McFarlane had to do double the work to get everything out there on time. Just look at those expressions. This is great. What I like about this cover are a couple of things. Let's look at it on the total cover. Look at the total cover. This is a great cover for a movie poster, I think, composition wise. We have Mary Jane on the left. She's kidnapped. We have Spider-Man great posing Spider-Man fighting sticks and stone. And although the stone, no, Sticks, I think, Sticks' face at the bottom is like a superimposed image, just like MJ. This could be a great movie poster. And maybe Marvel should start making more original animated films, just like DC Comics does. They have The Dark Knight Returns and I think Batman Year One and a couple of other animated films that are almost carbon copies of the comics. And maybe Marvel should make those as well, of a couple of Spider-Man storylines. I think that would sell a lot of money. And this would be a great storyline because MJ saves herself and saves Spider-Man. So it's like the reversal of the trope of the damsel in distress. In the end, it's MJ who saves herself and not the hero who is supposed to save her, which is fun, I think, and shows what a badass character MJ really is and why Spider-Man and Mary Jane Watson fits together so well. So this would be a great storyline, I think, to make a film about, an animated film. And I love this. I really love this art. Have I said that before? Yeah, I said that plenty of times in this video, but it's true. It's great stuff. And like I said, he's a funny guy, so this must have been a direct market copy of the cover, because we have the corner box here and there's no price thingy. Usually you have a price thingy when it was sold in the grocery stores and stuff like that. So McFarlane makes little jokes of the corner box here with the Spidey face. And sometimes he just puts the number of the issue there and some other jokes. But that might be one for another video. Who knows? There's so much videos I want to make still, and I'm just getting started, guys. I hope you like this video. I hope you like McFarlane's art. If you saw a favorite cover or illustration here, let me know which one is your favorite. I want to end this video with this illustration by McFarlane. This is one of my favorite Spider-Man illustrations by McFarlane, by Todd McFarlane. It's the last page of Amazing Spider-Man 300, and it's the first time McFarlane draws Spider-Man in his original costume. And he's web swimming over New York. And a couple of things about this panel. First of all, it's a spectacular panel. Secondly, look at the background. Again, McFarlane used a photograph as a background. And in an earlier video, I asked you guys if you knew what this technique was, and I got an answer. But I forgot, I forgot the answer. So let's look at that video. It's this video. It's a video I posted on January 2019, and it's about the technique McFarlane uses. And then Michiel Vesilius said it looks like he transferred a photocopy to paper using thinner. It's an illustrator's trick. And the technique I mentioned requires the artist to get a high contrast photocopy of a picture, moist it with paint thinner or acetone, and then use this to stencil the image to another surface. Another possibility I can imagine would be to print a copy of picture on a transparent sheet, again using a copy machine. Remember, these were the pre-Photoshop days. That's what I like about YouTube. You can ask a question and people give an answer. There's a lot of great interaction on this platform, and that's why I love making YouTube videos. One remark I want to make. The thing is about this picture is that Spider-Man's spider, the spider on his back, has never been colored properly. Whenever you see this in a reprint or the original issue, as you can see, the spider on his back is blue. And whenever I see this image, the spider is a different color. It's not red, and it's supposed to be just red. So I don't know why. Sometimes colorists make these strange mistakes, small mistakes, and whenever they reprint comics, they never correct these mistakes. And it's a bummer. Like I said, this is one of my favorite Spider-Man illustrations by Todd McFarlane, and there's a big mistake on it. But then again, who cares? It's not a biggie. It's still a great pose, and it's the first time we see Spider-Man by McFarlane in his original costume. Anyway, thank you guys for watching, stay safe, and read more comics.